Hello, networkers, and welcome back to another episode of Ask a Network Engineer, where I answer one of your questions. And in this episode, I want to talk about a third thing that I have learned growing up as a network engineer. And that is with something that is very, very important. It's not technical, but it determines how successful you will be. And that is with customer service and communication. Let's talk about that. If you've been watching the mini episodes for Ask the Network Engineer, and thank you for doing that if you have, the one thing I talked a lot about is with communication. And very early on, I realized the importance of that and how dangerous it could be if you don't do it right. And that also correlates with customer service. So the main thing that I learned about communication is this is what a company really looks at. Your technical skills are important, but it also will determine what your value is to that company. Are you a keeper? Okay, we'll get into that a little bit later. So when it comes to communication, this is communication with the management staff, with your coworkers, but also with the users in the company, or even better, clients or customers. How you communicate with them is really important. So I learned really three main things about how to communicate and what is important. The first thing is you want to be prepared. You want to know what you're going to be talking about, whether it's with the management staff or with customers. You also want to be very clear and not very confusing of what you're trying to get across. And the third thing is you want to be patient. So you as an engineer, yes, you may know about MPLS and data center DCIs. That's fantastic. But when you're talking to a customer or to a manager, they may not know what you're talking about. So you got to be very clear, but also be very patient and try to explain things as simple as you can for what is relevant for them to understand. The second part of that is with customer service. And the biggest component is how you communicate with the customer. This is a big thing for a lot of companies. I remember when I was working at Cisco, I think I told this story in one of my Cisco-based episodes for this channel. And I talked about that Cisco said to me very bluntly that number one is the customer. We are number two. And guess what? Every single environment has that same philosophy. The customer is extremely, extremely important. So you have to understand that. And if you're going to be in the IT field, as a network engineer, a server, security, database, whatever it's going to be, customer service, how you communicate with the customer or with the users is important. So I'm going to talk about things that you need to keep in mind for how to do customer service. And it's not hard, but the biggest part is being patient. When you're dealing with customer service, you want to always keep in mind, you need to help the customer. You want to make them happy. You want to listen. What are they calling about? Try to identify what is their issue. You want to be on their side because they're calling you for assistance. And important, this is extremely, extremely important. There are some days where you will encounter an angry customer. They're going to yell at you. They're going to call you mean things. They're going to call you an idiot or how stupid or why are you even here in the department. That will happen from time to time. And this is where you have to be patient and calm and to not let your anger show over the phone. This is something that happened a long time ago with a person that I used to know. So he got a phone call, he's talking to a customer that was rude and insulting and yelling at him. So he put this customer on hold or he muted the call to do something. Then he turns and he talks to somebody else, not me. Okay, he talks to somebody else and he's bad mouthing the customer, saying, "Oh, he's an idiot. He knows nothing about Cisco routers. See, he knows that we're better than he is. He's just bad mouthing this guy really bad. This guy's an asshole." That's what he said. So he goes ahead and unmutes the call and said, "Okay, sir, I'm gonna need your contract number." The customer says, "I want to talk to your manager." "I'm sure we can do that for you. Is there anything, but is there a problem that I can help resolve?" "I want to speak with your manager," the customer said. Sure, no problem. So he transferred the call to his manager. 10 minutes later, that person was fired because the customer heard everything that the support person said, that the support person called the customer an asshole. Okay? That is a big, big no-no. Okay? When you're dealing with customer service, when you're dealing with customers, especially over the phone, and if they're angry or upset, some of them are going to yell at you. They're going to call you an idiot. All of that. But you never let your guard down. You be patient, you stay calm, you try to solve the issue. You figure out what is the issue. If it's too much to handle, then you can pass off the call to somebody else, like your manager. Look, I get it. I worked at Cisco. I dealt with a couple of calls with customers that were completely rude and very disrespectful. I personally remember my first incident when I was at Cisco, where I got a phone call because his router just failed twice. And he's yelling at me saying that I'm incompetent. I'm like, well, we need to get you a RMA, a replacement. It's a different department. I'm tired of being passed around, blah, blah. Okay, then let me get a person in RMA, then I can do a direct transfer to you. I don't deal with RMA replacements. You know, that went on. And he's just using very insulting things. He is disrespecting me. And I'm getting angry. I see this person's name and address, and I'm like, I can tell them exactly how I feel. But that is career suicide. So I put the customer on hold. I went to my manager, which happened to be right next to me. And I said, there's a customer who is extremely upset. He's rude. He is very disrespectful. I want to take care of the customer, but I'm not in a condition where I can do that. I need to pass the call to someone else so they can keep the customer calm and help him solve his issue. Now, it's okay if you want to stand up for yourself if things get really, really escalated and heated. So like the customer is using profanity, bad words. There's nothing wrong with you saying, sir, please do not use that language. I'm here to help you. So let's talk about what we can do for you. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't be combative and confrontational. So the main thing that I've learned about communication and with customer service is, once again, you want to be prepared, you want to be clear, you want to be patient. You want to help and work with the customer. Now, these things are important, and I learned that early on because this is what a company sees. A company loves engineers that are perceived very positive from the management staff, other engineers, users, and customers. That is very, very important. So a lot of things to keep in mind that companies look at when you have good communication, when you do have good customer service skills, is things like you're very professional. You're a professional about your job. You're not goofing off. You're not being silly. Professionalism is very important. Also, your level of experience. When you have a lot of experience and give a lot of recommendations or solutions, that looks upon very favorably. It's also important to be very humble and honest. If there's something that you don't know, or there's something that could take a long period of time, communicate that. Communication is important for any kind of relationship, right? Whether it's personal or business. Just communicate with what is expected, but also be humble and say certain things that you do not know. That is something that I have also said before. When you do those things, it makes you as an engineer extremely valuable to the company. Yes, you may be fantastic in terms of configuring routers and switches and firewalls all day long. But a big part of projects, especially as a consultant, and since I've been a consultant for, I guess, longer I've been an engineer, is that you're going to be in front of the customer. And I do consulting through other consulting companies like MSPs and cloud providers that do not have network engineers. So I'm like their network person that comes in and build the network and deal with network projects for their customers. So they have to trust me of my experience, my professionalism, of putting me in front of the customer that represents their entire company. That's a lot of pressure, but just be yourself. That's the main thing, right? If you have the experience, if you're prepared, If you're patient, you're honest, all these things that I talked about, it comes off very well. And that means more opportunities for you can come up. That means that the bigger projects that you work on will be given to you because they know that you have the experience, but you also have the communication and the customer service. So those are things to keep in mind about being a network engineer. And we are done with this episode. So if you have any questions about being a network engineer, post those questions below in the comments. So thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe, and support us at rodhub.net. Until next time, keep networking.